All right, guys, so we are back with working with number lines, and we are showing fractions on a number line that are beyond one whole. So you'll need the one that says measuring with fractions. It says use the number line below to represent each scenario by adding sections between the whole numbers and labeling each point. So here are my whole numbers. So my whole numbers, guys, is just a whole number. There's not a fraction attached to it. Okay, so my whole numbers for this is, on this number line, I want you to circle your whole numbers. I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are my whole numbers. Okay, so I'm going to be using my whole numbers to be making fractions, and I'm going to be adding sections in between my whole numbers. That means I'm going to be dividing them into parts between my whole numbers to represent my fractions that it's asking me for. So the first scenario is Frisbee throws. Ronnie was throwing a Frisbee in his backyard. On one of his throws, he threw the Frisbee 4.5 feet. On his second throw, he threw the Frisbee about 2 3/8 feet. Can you find the distance on the number line that represents 4.5 and 2 3/8? Okay, so I need to find 4.5 and 2 3/8. Now, that means that he threw it 4 feet and then some. Okay, so I know that 4 1/2 is going to go between my whole numbers 4 and 5. And I know this because if you notice, I have a 4 that goes with the half. Now, look at your denominator in that number. Okay, so my denominator is 2. And remember, our denominator tells us how many pieces my number line is cut into. So between 4 and 5, I'm going to make sure that I divide it into 2 parts. 1, 2. And half would be right here. So this would be 4 1/2. So it's like it went halfway. It didn't make it all the way to the next whole number. It went halfway. Okay. Then he threw it 2 feet and 3/8. So 2 3/8. So my whole number is 2. So I know that this one is going to go between 2 and 3. My denominator is 8. So I need to cut these pieces into 8. I'm only doing it between the whole numbers 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm going to start by making half. Now I'm going to go make half again on both sides. And I'm going to half it again. So that means you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tick marks. And if you count the spaces, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. Okay? Eight spaces. So I know that my whole number is 2. I know that my denominator is 8 and my numerator is 3. So that means that I need to jump or go to the third tick mark. So 1, 2, 3. So on this third tick mark, that would be 2 3/8. Okay, let's try another one. Fruit snacks. Pippa was measuring a roll-up fruit snack. She found that one fruit snack was 2 1/4 inches long. So 2 1/4 inches long. Another was 2 3/4 inches long. Can you find the distance on the number line that represents 2 1/4 and 2 3/4? So let's look at our fraction. Our whole number is 2. So that means my fraction is going to go between 2 and 3. Okay? So my first thing I need to do is look at my denominator. My denominator is 4, so I need to cut this into 4 pieces. So there's half. And then on the left side right here, I'm going to do half again and half again. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Now, the first fruit roll-up was 2 1/4 inches long. So here's the 2. 1/4 would be this first mark because that's 1. So this is 2 1/4. I also need to show 2 3/4. So here's 2 3/4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So this would be 2 3/4. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Remote control races. Lucas was racing his remote control car against his friend Fred. His friend Fred's car. Fred's car stopped on the sidewalk at 3 3/4 feet. Lucas's car stopped on the sidewalk 3 1/2 feet. Can you find the distance on the number line that represents 3 1/2 and 3 3/4? So that means my whole number is 3. So I'm going to go to my number line and find my whole number 3. And I know that this fraction is going to go between 3 and 4. My denominator is 4. Oh, ooh. Actually, I have 2 different denominators. I have 3 1/2 and 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut it into fourths because that denominator is bigger, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So 1. Actually, let's do this one. I'm going to cut it in half first, okay? Because my denominator is 2. So this would be 3 1/2. Then I'm going to cut it into fourths. So I already have halves. I'm going to cut this into fourths now. This is still 3 1/2. This would be 3 3/4. This can also be 3 2/4. So 3 1/2 is the same as 3 2/4 is the same as 3 1/2. Let's look at another one. So that one was kind of tricky. This one. Miranda was practicing serving a volleyball to her friend, Sasha. She was at 1 5/8 yards away from the serving line. Can you find this distance on the number line that represents 1 5/8? So my whole number is 1. So I'm going to find my 1, and my number is going to go between 1 and 2. Okay? And my denominator is 8. So I'm going to cut this into 8 pieces. So I'm going to start with half, and then I'm going to cut into fourths. And then I'm going to go over here and cut again like that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you're not sure, just count the spaces. Okay, so 5/8. My bottom number tells me how many pieces to cut into. My top number tells me where I'm going to put my point on the number line. So I'm going to put it when I'm going to jump 5 spaces, and that's where my point is going to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 1 5/8. Okay. So what you're going to do is, here I have my next handout that you're going to work on, and this is what you're going to turn into me. Fractions on a number line. It says label the fractions for each point on the number line. So at the top part, this part, you're going to label the points. Now, you need to be very careful. Right now, I want you to circle the whole numbers on this number line. Actually, we're going to do this one together and this one together, and then you'll have two on your own. So, this first one, let's look at this. Let's look between 7 and 8 because I have a point. So my whole number is going to be 7. So we're going to go 7 and then some. So 7, let me see how many pieces did they cut this into, because that's going to be my denominator. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to stop right there because here I hit my next whole number. So my denominator is going to be an 8. My whole number is going to be a 7. My numerator is where my point is at on the number line. So I jumped 1, 2 spaces. So my fraction is 7 2/8. And I have to put the word and because it's 7 whole to my 2/8. Now, between 8 and 9, I have 2 points. So let's see what this is cut into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my denominator for both points are going to be 8. And now I'm going to count where my point is. So 1, this is 8 1/8. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is 8 6/8. So you're going to do this one on your own. Now let's look at the bottom. This is, actually you're going to do these two on your own because this right here is exactly what we did here on this paper. So you're going to have to look at what they're telling you to, it says add sections between the whole numbers. So pay attention to your denominator. You're going to break it, you're going to divide into those number of parts and then find your fraction. So pay attention to that denominator because that's going to tell you how many pieces to divide into. All right, guys.